Do you know what's amazing about the Sega Dreamcast in 2023? There's so many more games that are coming out or have already been released recently. And in today's video, I'm paying homage to the indie developers that have absolutely blown me and you away. But first, I just want to set a mild precedent. I went down to OLL last weekend as I filmed this, and I was blown away at meeting Mike from Bitmap Bureau, who I'm going to feature in one of Bitmap Bureau's games in this. And of course, I had a brief chat with Dan from Wave Games. Wave Games are a publisher that are prominent in getting a lot of these Indie Dreamcast games out there. So I'm going to link every game, every developer, publisher, whatever, in the description, and all I would ask is that you go and show them developers and publishers some support after you've watched this video. And also shout out to Debug magazine. This is the first issue. I think the next one comes out in July, and it's all 100% indie. So today's video is inspired by OLL and Debug magazine, and I thought it would bring something new to the table for some new viewers of mine. This is not paid, done it at me and back, so I'm happy to show you this lot. Let's go.
Shadow Gangs.
Here we go, Shadow Gangs on the Sega Dreamcast. Just look at this game. It was developed by JKM Corp and it was obviously published by Wave Game Studios. If you like your 90s side-scrolling action adventure beat 'em up-esque games that look pretty, I mean, look at this load screen here, the textures, the colour, everything about Shadow Gangs feels right, and I guarantee you'll really enjoy this. So as you progress throughout the level, you can get these power-ups and you can turn into a ninja, and of course increasing your abilities tenfold. And you heard the music there, right? I mean, talk about 1980s and 1990s action adventure extravaganza. I mean, it's really cool, and I didn't notice this until I started to research this episode, but they quoted me on their website. It's like playing an 80s action movie. Now, if you're watching this episode and you don't live in the UK or Europe, you can rest assured because Shadow Gangs is region free. So you can order your copy guilt-free, knowing that you can enjoy this no matter where you are in the world. Now, I've played a lot of this game on my stream, and it's very, very enjoyable, but be warned, it's very, very difficult. And I think when we often go back to certain games now that we played as children, it feels difficult. It didn't feel that difficult back then, but when we go back as adults, it feels really difficult. Now, I don't know if the difficulty was done on purpose to kind of emulate that feeling, or if it was just a pure fluke. But I can guarantee you one thing, Team 24. You're going to enjoy Shadow Gangs. Please go and get yourselves a copy. I would love to hear your thoughts, and remember, none of these are me being paid to say any of this. I did this episode on my own back because I feel really passionate and really inspired. So check it out. This is Shadow Gangs. Intrepid Izzy is up next, and I think for me, the immediate thing is the visuals, just how beautiful the different shades of purples and blues and even the kind of browns and oranges and the way they blend together look absolutely crisp and stunning. And I would say that this is one of two games that I feature in this episode that are visually the ones that stand out for me personally. I think what really works with Intrepid Izzy is its familiarity. There's that Metroidvania-esque overmap that you saw just then. There's basic puzzles, there's some really nice easy platforming, there's different moves you can do and really nice sprites and pixels on the screen. There's not really anything that I don't like about this, if I'm brutally honest. And I will say, if you take a look at some of the screenshots from the different levels, again, I'm vibing a lot of Super Frog, I'm seeing a little bit of Sonic the Hedgehog vibes, and that's what I mean about that familiarity, and that's where it taps into that nostalgia. And if you're like me, in your late 30s, you'll definitely know what I mean, because we all grew up through the 16-bit era of the kind of late 80s into the mid to late 90s. Again, 60 frames per second, region free, so rest assured you can play Intrepid Izzy no matter where you are in the world. And you may actually recognise this from a lot of the UK gaming expos in particular, because Wave Game Studios do have a massive presence with the games that they publish. They were down at OLL, they're always floating about at the retro game markets. Make sure you look for this logo and definitely go and try some of the games, because I guarantee you won't be disappointed. You know what I love? I love great people. And you'll never hear me say this again, but I also like fleas. Well, I like this flea. I'm going to start with great people, because I've met the developer. Shout out to Alistair, who is the developer and owner and just the brains behind Low Tech Games. He developed this. We are a flea, and you jump automatically, and all you have to do is navigate to collect these vials of blood without getting killed. I'm actually going to let my entire playthrough play through, because it does get very, very tricky. And there's a little bit in this gameplay that I get stuck on, and I might beat it, I might not. I'm going to let you watch it. But I did not expect to like this as much as I did, and I think it's a prime example of not judging a book by its cover, because it's not about high fidelity visuals all the time and story and character development. You can literally have a sporadic jumping flea using some obstacles, which are basic arrows like seen here, to grab vials of blood. I mean, it is a formula that works. And if you have not played this, please play it. Please go and follow Low Tech Games on the socials. Go to their website. Treat yourselves to a copy of this. It is an absolute ton of fun, and I swear down, if you can beat it, I will be incredibly impressed. So I'm going to shut up. Please do not click off this video. I want you to see some of the difficulties that we're about to get stuck into. So this next one is Driving Stalkers, and I did say I've got all of the games. I digress slightly here, but this was actually on a demo that Wave Game Studios sent to me. At the time of me getting the demo, this wasn't actually out, it was in progress. So if you've played Rocket League, you'll be familiar with the concept here. I was the kind of white car, I was one of the white cars. You can just make out the arrow on top, and obviously you have to kind of score a goal, etc, etc. Now this was incredibly difficult to control. I did struggle very much, and I did get quite stuck in various places because I couldn't find a reverse button. But then again, I had to remind myself that this was, at the time of this demo, a work in progress. I don't know if it is out yet. From what I've seen on the internet, it isn't out yet, but who knows. It's a decent game. I do think it's worth some time. I think if you play this with your kids, or maybe you don't have Rocket League, or this might bring you into wanting to play Rocket League. I don't know. Maybe you're a diehard Rocket League fan and you want to try those skills and bring them across to this. Either way, I think you'll maybe get some joy out of this. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section.
Xeno Crisis.
Oh my goodness. Xeno Crisis. I'm going to kind of really hone in on this because firstly, I mentioned two games that look stunning. They all look great, but this is probably the best looking alongside Intrepid Izzy. But now if you've not played this, I highly suggest you dive onto this. It is a twin stick shooter and you have to clear out arenas of aliens, collecting different little power-ups, ammunition, etc., rescuing hostages from time to time and progressing until the end boss. Warning, it is very, very difficult. Now there is a cheat for this, but if you use it, you don't get that. I think you can't complete it, or you complete it and you don't get the ending that you would normally get, because when I completed it, I had to use the cheat. It's that freaking difficult. Now you might not have a Sega Dreamcast. That's absolutely fine. Of course, I'm talking about the Sega Dreamcast here, so I'm playing it on my Sega Dreamcast. But you can also get Xeno Crisis on the Sega Mega Drive, Linux, Mac OS, Microsoft Windows, the Nintendo Switch, the PS4, Xbox One, PlayStation Vita, Evercade, Neo Geo CD, and it's about to be released on the Nintendo GameCube and the Nintendo 64. I have a copy on the Nintendo 64 and the Sega Mega Drive and all the different kind of regions on the Sega Dreamcast. I'm a huge fan of Bitmap Bureau, and they did release Final Vendetta as well. That was more recent, and that's on the Nintendo Switch as well as other platforms like the PlayStation, etc. So if you've not heard of Bitmap Bureau, I will link their direct website in the description. Go and have a look at some of their phenomenal games, their phenomenal work. I mean, look at the pixel art. It's absolutely fantastic. And again, you might be familiar with the likes of Super Smash TV. It's very much in the vein of that as well.
All clear.
And let's not forget with Xeno Crisis that the guys over at Bitmap Bureau are releasing it on the N64, and I am happy to have a copy right here, as well as the Nintendo GameCube. That's coming up soon, so make sure you keep an eye out on their socials and on their website if you want to support their awesome work. Rush Rally Reloaded is up next. Now amidst this gameplay, I just want to bang in a disclaimer. This was my first effort whilst capturing this footage, so you can feel free to roast me in the comment section as my performance was pretty poor. But as you can see, it is a fun top-down racing game which lends heavily from the likes of Micro Machines. The cool thing is you can play up to 4 player as well, so it takes awesome advantage of the Dreamcast capabilities to be able to do so. I love 4 player couch co-op, let's just put that right on the table. With any game like this, you obviously can't see the twists and turns that are common, so it does rely a lot on muscle memory, so practice makes perfect. And obviously you saw me just run over a cow, so I would suggest that you need to avoid lots of different obstacles along the way. This is a really fun game, and again, it's published by Wave Game Studios and developed by Xeno Team. Pretty darn cool. Was it me, or was the music in that intro very similar to that in Mass Effect? This is Xeno 3D game for the Dreamcast. It looks gorgeous and it feels silky darn smooth. I would highly suggest that you pay grave attention to the training session here, as you do learn all of the game's move. You've got your jump ability, you can strafe left and right with the L and R buttons. Again, you've got to be crystal perfect with your timing because mistakes will be made, and I soon found that when I got out onto the levels. You also have the ability to fire these projectiles, which pretty easy to do. You utilise the direction buttons, or you can use your analog stick just to aim the projectiles at whatever enemies stand in your path. This was a game that I didn't think I was going to like, but when I actually played it, I was very impressed with the visual fidelity on this. It does feel like it was, if this was released, should I say, back in the day, this would have been way ahead of its time. And I think for me, the Dreamcast is just the console that keeps on giving. And I said in a previous episode of mine about the Dreamcast that I really did miss out on it when it first came out because I was busy doing other things with my life. It was a time when I'd completely fallen out of love with gaming. So I'm acquainting myself with the Dreamcast and all of these amazing indie titles that are still being developed to this day. I mean, name a retro console, probably the Sega Mega Drive, but name another retro console that's having as much thrown at it in terms of indie games than the Dreamcast. Alice Dreams Tournament reminded me incredibly of Bomberman. This I think would be better played with your friends, again honing in on that 4-player couch co-op culture that we all loved back in the 90s. So you have your player and you've got to go around, you've got to kill the other players on the screen by setting bombs. You can pick power-ups up along the way. Again, think about Bomberman and you'll get the basic premise of this. I only played the first level for my testing in this episode, but check out the screenshots from Wave Game Studios, awesome website. Just look how good this looks. So I think if you're having a pizza party soon, or you just want to invite some friends over, maybe you just want to play single player and hone in on your skills before you dive into couch co-op, you need to check this out. And again, I'll link everything you need in the description. So I dare say there's lots more cool stuff to come. Well, in fact, I know there is because I've seen some of the upcoming games in Debug magazine. I think HarleQuest is also a game that I'm really looking forward to on the Sega Dreamcast. That's in its Kickstarter phase. They also featured on the Retro Hour podcast recently as well. So there's actually loads more. The Dreamcast for me in 2023 feels like the gift that keeps on giving. And I did a video a while ago saying how I missed it on launch because I was busy doing other things with my life. But it's great to be able to embrace it right now in 2023. So thank you so much for watching this. If you've enjoyed it, all I want is just for you to let me know which of the games you thought were really cool. I think it's a nice variety that I've shown, from Flea that looks incredibly basic, like something I would potentially play on a Commodore 64 and a Spectrum, right up to the 3D rendering of this bad boy. It looks gorgeous, and of course Xeno Crisis, which is my personal favourite, which feels more synonymous with the likes of a Super Nintendo game or a Sega Mega Drive game back in the day, and of course they did release Xeno Crisis on the Sega Mega Drive. So thank you so much. If you think that this video has just improved your smile by 1%, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe, but if not, I wish you guys a great day. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. I need a few seconds of your time to tell you about channel memberships. If you guys want to become a channel member, click join from the main page or the second link in the description. There are 3 tiers, all with different perks for you if you want to become a team member. Thanks for your time. Let's continue with the video.